from a financial standpoint, making sure you find a buyer that has that values the business at a number that you need in order to step away from the business, but also thinking about not only the sellers or the founders' financial income, but the other side of that, to just intentionally think about what do they want for their clients, what do they want for their employees, and make sure that the buyer that they're selecting aligns with that.
Welcome to Evergreen Elevate. I'm Sharon Florentine with the Global Technology Industry Association, and we are here in Chicago with GTIA on location, talking to some of the channel's most influential leaders about how they grow their business and stay ahead of the competition. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Lloyd Wolf, who is the founder and former CEO of Wolf Consulting. Welcome, Lloyd, and thanks for joining GTIA on location.
My pleasure. Great to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely. You were the first MSP that Evergreen acquired. Can you walk me through how and why that happened and why Evergreen?
I had founded Wolf Consulting in 1989 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Originally, the company focused on custom programming, but later transitioned to IT support and managed services. I owned and ran the company for 30 years. Many of those years, it was simply my business. I wasn't focused on selling or transitioning ownership or leadership of the business to other folks. But in the 2015 timeframe or so, I started to think about what's the legacy for the business, what's the next step for the business, who's the next owner, who's the next leaders. I first met Jeff Totten in early October 2017, and he shared with me his vision for having a holding company that would own many MSPs, but would have a decentralized approach where the companies would continue to run independently, business as usual, if you will, which was what I was looking for, where decisions would be made at the local level and where the company would continue to retain all of its employees as opposed to firing the employees because they had people working at headquarters somewhere. He shared with me his vision, and that really resonated with me. And I took a shot. This was something that he was building. I trusted him, and Jeff's done everything that he promised me he would do, and Evergreen has continued to grow since then.
Excellent. That's fantastic. So, 8 years later, how has your business evolved and grown? I know you said, Jeff has kept all his promises. We're going to be talking to Jeff a little bit later, but tell us how that's evolved and grown.
So I stayed on as the CEO for the first 15 months or so after the sale of the business, and I ended up retiring from the business in 2019 alongside the company's 30th anniversary. So I'm not involved in the day-to-day operations or running of the business anymore, so I kind of watch from the sidelines. But I can say that the company has continued to grow. They're doing more revenue than they've ever done before. They've got more employees than they ever had before. Jeff has kept his promise. Evergreen has kept its promise that the company continues to run independently. It's its own business. Decisions are made at the local level with the local leaders of the company. All of the clients that we had at the time still ongoing with the company. Employees, some have moved on. They've either retired or decided to pursue something else, but all of the folks who wanted to continue with the company are still there today.
Excellent. And so how did you and Evergreen handle that succession planning? That seems like a pretty important step to take when you retired. How did you navigate that with Evergreen?
It's a good question. We were very intentional about it. As I was running the business and building the business, we had done, I think, a pretty good job of building a leadership team and having the company run not 100% dependent on me, but we had leaders who handled service delivery and account management and finance and accounting. But there was no one to sit in the CEO seat of the business. And I had talked with Jeff Totten about that when we talked about the sale. And I said, Jeff, I don't have the next senior leader of the business, and he had shared with me that he could help me solve that problem. He had a program in place where they would recruit and hire successor CEOs for the business. And Jeff ended up introducing me to Elliot Hyman. Elliot came in and worked with me on the leadership team. He actually took a seat on the leadership team and filled our business development leadership seat. And he sat in that seat for about 15 months and learned the business firsthand, was out there selling with clients, learning the business, helping provide solutions for clients, getting to know the other leaders of the business and getting to know the other employees in the business, being on the leadership team, participating and making decisions, seeing how the sausage is made of running and growing in MSP. And Elliot was great at that. He learned so quick, sold more than I did sitting in that sales seat. But once he'd learned the business, and there became a time where I knew and he knew, he was ready to take over the seat. So we had announced to our employees that I would be retiring from the business and Elliot would succeed me as the next CEO. We announced to our clients and business partners that Elliot would be taking over, and we had a few months of overlap in there after the announcement from when Elliot ultimately took over. And then in March of 2019, we threw a big party to celebrate the company's 30th anniversary and kind of handed the baton from me to Elliot, and I stepped away into the sunset from there.
Sounds pretty seamless to me.
Yes, very smooth.
So what advice would you give to MSPs who are looking for the right buyer?
For an MSP looking for the right buyer, I mean, there's a couple of check boxes that I think you need to check, or at least I'd say that I did. I mean, there's first, simply from a financial standpoint, making sure you find a buyer that has that values the business at a number that you need in order to step away from the business, but also thinking about not only the sellers or the founders' financial income, but the other side of that, which in my case ended up being an equal factor, was what was the outcome that I wanted or that another business owner would want for their business. To just intentionally think about what do they want for their clients, what do they want for their employees, and make sure that the buyer that they're selecting aligns with that. Not solely the money checkbox, but also that outcome checkbox. And if someone is looking for a more business as usual approach with keeping the employees and keeping things business as usual with things running independently within that local business, I'd highly recommend they consider Evergreen Services Group.
And so you're still involved in the Evergreen community. Why is that?
I'm so thankful for Jeff and Elliot and everything they've done for me and my business. I'm appreciative. Occasionally they'll invite me to talk with business owners who are considering a transaction to just share my experiences with them. So I'm always happy to share my story and personal experiences and answer their questions. And sometimes they'll have events and they'll ask me to attend the events, and I'm happy to help them as they continue to build a permanent home for businesses.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Lloyd, for coming on and sharing your story with us with GTIA On Location. And thank you for watching GTIA On Location. You can check out all our other videos on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. We will be back with more GTIA On Location soon. See you next time.